The most interesting issue raised for me by Parshat Shlach was the question of who sent the spies to the land of Israel. The reason this is such an interesting issue is that the Torah contains two different versions of the story of the sending of the spies, and it's hard to reconcile them. In Shlach, it seems pretty clear that the decision to send the spies was God's, and God's alone. But the plain text in Devarim suggests that the mission was initiated by Bnei Israel. Our parsha could hardly begin more clearly. The Lord spoke to Moses, saying, "Send out for yourself men who will scout the land of Canaan, which I am giving to the children of Israel." Conversely, when Moshe is recounting his adventures in the Midbar to Bnei Israel and Devarim, he makes it equally clear that they were responsible for the mission. Again, the words in the Torah are unambiguous. When we reached Kadesh Barnea, I said to you, "See, the Lord your God has given you the land. Go up and possess it. Do not fear or take fright." And you all came to me and said, "Let us send men ahead to reconnoiter the land for us and bring back word of the route that we should follow and the cities we will come to." I approved the plan and selected 12 of your men, one from each tribe. When the Torah has contradictions like this, it creates real problems for traditional commentators who believe that the Torah has only one author, God. It's obviously much easier for modern biblical critics who believe that the Torah is a compendium of teachings from various authors. Let's look at how Rashi deals with this conundrum. In his commentary on Shlach, he reinterprets the word "send" and instead reads "Shalach lecha," which means "send out for yourself," as meaning according to your own understanding. While it's a bit of a play on the words, it does allow Rashi to reinterpret the sentence to harmonize it with Devarim, and he concludes that what the Torah really is saying in Shlach is, "I am not commanding you, but if you want, you may send out the spies." In my view, and in light of the fact that Rashi was obviously aware of the passage in Devarim when he wrote his commentary on Shlach, his analysis is understandable. It's also clear that because Rashi knows how badly the story of the spies ends for Bnei Israel, he wants to make clear that he doesn't support their desire to send the spies in the first place because they should have just trusted God that the land was going to be hospitable. Now let's look at how Rashi interprets the passage in Devarim. There, Rashi is confronted not only with Moshe's unequivocal statement that Bnei Israel came up with the idea of sending the spies, but with Moshe's additional statement that "I approve the plan," I being Moshe. This is even more problematic because it seems to be a further departure from the original text in Shlach, where Moshe is simply following God's command, as opposed to acting based on his own considered reaction. Rashi's explanation now is that Moshe was actually testing the people to see if they understood implicitly that they shouldn't want to send the spies into the land. "I too consented to your words, thinking that you would perhaps reconsider when you saw that I do not withhold it from you. But you did not reconsider," citing Sifrei. This is certainly an interesting commentary, but it is totally at odds with the plain language in the text from Shlach, that it was God's idea. Rambam also looks at these different passages and, as he often does, tries to synthesize the two accounts. But his explanation is very different from Rashi's because he begins from the premise that the request by Bnei Israel to send the spies was perfectly appropriate under the circumstances. After all, they were about to enter a foreign land and they were scared. So, Rambam explains that Bnei Israel did in fact approach Moshe with their plan to send the spies and that Moshe acquiesced, but that there was nothing at all wrong with either the request or the acquiescence. He further explains that the reason that this is omitted in the Shlach account of the story is that God wanted the mission to succeed, and by making it look in Shlach as if he was ordering it on his own initiative, it would take the pressure off Bnei Israel and give the mission the best chance of success. I think it's fascinating the way both Rashi and Ramban wrestle with what is obviously a very challenging set of passages in the Torah. In my view, if one accepts that God wrote the Torah, then Rashi and Ramban have done about as good of a job as I think could have been done to explain the apparent contradiction in the text. Of course, there is another explanation that doesn't require suggesting multiple authors, but simply recognizing that Moshe, who after all is the one who received the Torah orally from God, may have taken some license in recounting it. If that is the case, then another explanation is that Moshe was still angry at Bnei Israel for the sin of the spies, and so when he recounted the story in Devarim, he tried to emphasize that the people brought this trouble on themselves first, by not having enough faith in God to just enter the land without sending in spies. And second, because the spies made up stories about what they found and the people believed them. In short, because Devarim is largely about Moshe teaching Bnei Israel lessons, he may have told the story the way he did in Devarim to take away any opportunity for the people to try to shirk responsibility by saying, "But it was God's idea to send the spies in the first place."